for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lapierre coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lapierre, back to Lapierre.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the spot!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. LaBita.tv. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, February 13. It is 4 minutes past 10 o'clock, and the Montreal Canadiens were absolutely on fire. Blah, blah, rouge. I'm in one of those moods, Canadiens fans. Get ready. Joining me in just a couple of minutes, former Montreal Canadian Maxim Lapierre of La Poche Bleue. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, where you could feel the energy tonight from the Montreal Canadiens. And Energy Transportation Group is the leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by these guys right over here, brewed in Quebec, and a winner of a dozen international awards. La Bita TB offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bita TB, embrace your true nature. Also brought to you in part by Playground, 30,000 square feet of new gaming, dining, and entertainment space. Time to reacquaint yourself with Playground, world-class sushi, AAA steaks, live shows, a brand new poker floor, and so much more. Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground, experience the Strip without the trip. Unlike Agnello, who spent the last week in Vegas, where he experienced the trip and probably even the Strip, because, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. He's blushing right now. And also brought to you in part by Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. It's funny. Every time I see Accent's phone number, I immediately think of my buddy, Sergio Momesso. Call the Accent team today, 514-363-3636. Without further ado, let's bring him in, former Hab, Maxim Lapierre.
Salut, Tony.
What's going on with you?
How are you, buddy? What a game, man.
Very, very good. Very good. I'm actually if I can, you'll give me 1 second here. I'm actually going to retweet that we're on right now, because it's very important to retweet, because I always get told, make sure you retweet. So there you go.
100%.
I retweeted. Okay. I retweeted.
Yeah.
Let me guess what we're going to talk about tonight. Oh. Alex Burrows. Alex Burrows. You know what? I got to tell you, you've been on the Burrows bandwagon, and tonight is your opportunity to say, hey, I told you so, and it's okay.
No, I'm just obviously it's all fun talking about it with the fans on Twitter and all that, but or on X. But I wanted to talk about the power play. Isn't that beautiful when you have options on both sides? You know what the difference is?
I'm happy you're saying this, Max, because the entire time I'm watching the game tonight, I'm saying, look, I understand Anaheim's not the Soviet Union. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But the entire time I'm watching the game tonight, I'm saying to myself, I don't remember when was the last time a Canadiens power play looked this good. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about it, to tell me what you like. Then I'm going to tell you what I like. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's the Slafkovsky factor, first of all. And I think Newhook is doing a phenomenal job as a bumper. I think we cannot underestimate the job he's doing right now. You know, I'm going to start there. We always talk about the bumper. What is the bumper? Yeah. You know, so people like sometimes people, they don't really understand what the role of the bumper is, but it's basically a safety net for whoever has the puck on the power play. If you have pressure on you, a good bumper is always even with you to receive a pass or to get you out of trouble. takes a stick in the slot so Suzuki can do the pass across to Caulfield or Suzuki. All the little details that make sure that you can have a good passing game on the power play. And right now, we got Caulfield, we got Slafkovsky. At the beginning of the year, the PK from the other team was coming in town, and they were just playing half of the zone. That's all they had to worry about because there was one guy. It was Caulfield. They were basically not respecting Slafkovsky. Now the game has changed because of the kid.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you this. You're right. Newhook sets up as the bumper. But I'm going to tell you what I loved about this power play. At times, I saw a rotation. I saw Suzuki in the bumper. At times, I saw a rotation. I saw Slafkovsky in the bumper. I saw, for the first time in a very long time, a power play that is no longer static, where guys just stay in the same spot and they move the puck A to B to C to D to E or 1 to 5. Now there's movement, not only with the puck, but the guys are in movement. And all of a sudden, Suzuki could be in the bumper, then Suzuki could be on the half wall, then Suzuki, there's so much movement and it's confusing other teams. And the Anaheim Ducks tonight on the penalty kill, they looked like they were mesmerized. They probably watched the power play and said, okay, you know what? We know what to do. And then all of a sudden, the Canadiens started doing what they were doing, and Anaheim didn't know what to do.
Yeah, but they're moving to knee for one reason, is that now the first play they make during the power play works. If your first pass is a shitty pass, sorry my language, but you're not.
No. This is not radio, by the way.
Okay.
Happy Radio National World Radio Day today. Or what is it? World, something like that. But this is podcast. You can say whatever you want, and I don't get it.
If it's not a shitty pass for the first pass, then you can keep on with your plan. Like if it doesn't work when you enter the zone and guys are disorganized, you're not gonna get to the next step, and that's what they're doing right now. The first pass is on the tape, then it gives time to the guy to change position, to get open. We didn't have that luxury at the beginning of the season.
You know what happened? I don't know if it was the first or second power play of tonight's game, but at one point also something happened. It's because they had the puck the whole time. They were in the zone the whole time. The first unit stayed the whole 2 minutes.
Yeah, and it's about time, Tony. It's about time.
I love that.
I never understood why we take your best player off the ice. I understand if they look tired and they've played so many minutes and whatever. Just leave them until they score a goal. They do it in Edmonton. They do it in Colorado. They're smart players. Suzuki, if he's tired, he's going to get off the ice. Like they won't cheat their team. Anyway, I don't think so.
Yeah. Max, at one point because the power play has been a roller coaster, right? It was down, it was up, it was down, it was up. And obviously, it's in a very, very good moment right now. I think since Christmas, it's at a rate of over 25%. Before the game, it was 19th in the league. I would imagine with a couple of power play goals tonight, it'll probably be able to get itself in the top 15, maybe. But when it wasn't working, and I was picking on you and picking on your buddy, Alex Burrows, you said to me, take a look at the players' first wave of the power play, all the teams in the National Hockey League. The Canadiens don't have the elements to have a very productive power play.
Exactly.
Okay, they got healthier now, and Slafkovsky today is a much different player than Slafkovsky game 1 this season.
Yeah.
But you know what else we're noticing? Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield are two really good power play players. Like Suzuki is really something. Yeah, but he's really something on the power play.
That was my point at the beginning of the season, Tony. Look at the difference it makes when a 19-year-old gets better and when a captain is confident and when your shooter gets his shot back. Like, you need players to have success on the power play. There's no, like, the guys playing PK on the other team, they're really good at what they do. I've done that my whole life. The only focus is to be good on the PK. They know how to block shot. They know how to cut the passing lane. They know how to do their job. So if you're not sharp, if you're not focused, if you're not in sync, if your breakout doesn't work, if your passing game doesn't work, you're not going to get stats. You're not going to score goals. Power play is not easy. We always think, it's 5-on-4, you're supposed to score. It's very complicated because there is basically the only place in hockey that I'm going to compare it to football. Your quarterback goes, he's got to play. But if you don't do your route, if one player doesn't do his route, you're done.
Look at. Let's talk about Slafkovsky. Actually, there's a couple of stats I think if we can bring them up during the broadcast, let's bring up those stats here. Via third period goal that he scored, Slafkovsky has 20 points in his last 24 games to also tie Richer for the 7th most career points by a Habs teenager with 37. Those with more, Tremblay, Galchenyuk, Svoboda, Kotkaniemi, Hunter, and Alfie Turcotte. All right, others. Another one here on Slafkovsky. His recent stats, 6-game point streak, 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in his last 6 games, 12 points in his last 11 games, 19 points in his last 22 games. And once again, he's 19 years old. Look, Max, I'm going to tell you something. When he was drafted first overall, it wasn't unanimous because, we had talked about Shane Wright for a while and everyone knew that Logan Cooley was a really nice talent, but everyone could understand the Canadiens taking Slafkovsky in the end because, you know what? This guy is a big beast. He's a monster. And we saw the growing pains, which all things considering, he's only 19. They haven't been that much. There's only one season of growing pains, really, when you think about it. And a shortened season last year due to injury where he played half the season. But I'm going to say this. When I looked into my crystal ball, as much as I wanted this guy to be good, I would have never thought that his playmaking ability would be this good. I'm blown away. I would have never expected him. You would have told me he could be a 40-goal guy. I would have said, okay, I see it. You would have told me you think that he could be a bruising guy to play against because of his size. I could tell you I could see it. A playmaker like this, the way he's looking for Suzuki, sometimes he looks like the playmaker and Suzuki looks like the scorer. I'm blown away. I didn't expect him to have this playmaking ability, Max.
I had a heated argument on my podcast about it was in October when things weren't going well, and I was mad because I was saying this guy's got a phenomenal hockey IQ. I could not believe that some people don't see it, even if he doesn't play well. Like, he's such a smart guy defensively. You know what? And now I'm going to push it.
I didn't see it, by the way. I didn't see it, and I was part of your Poche Bleu. Yeah. I didn't see it, but not that I didn't think that he could have it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was going to take him longer because he's a big body, and big bodies usually don't exercise the IQ as much as smaller players do. I knew it would come.
Yeah.
I just thought it would take time. I did not think he would see the game the way he's been seeing it in the last month. It looks like the game slowed down for him. I'm blown away.
He's unreal. And okay, now we're just gonna have fun. But I was watching the game upstairs, and I was thinking this guy could probably be a very good center. Just the way he reads the game in the defensive zone. Sometimes you see a young guy, a winger, they look out of place when they're down low helping their defenseman. He doesn't care. He's calm. He protects the center of the ice, gives good options to his D-man, to his wingers when he's down low. I would not be surprised if they do a test one day. Just to see. I know we've done it in Montreal with guys like Drouin and all that, but there's nothing to do with that. I think he's a smart guy. He's strong defensively. He's strong physically, which is a good thing. He's good offensively. He's the full package. And I want to repeat that you don't get draft first overall. And yes, it happened in history, but there's a reason why you go first overall. And in any draft, normally the top 3, they have something very special. That's a special player. Very special player.
So this is a great comment that you threw out there because I already know right now, Agnello and Sammy and Juliana at Master Control, cut the tape right there. Maxim Lapierre saying that Slafkovsky could be an awesome centerman. We're going to have it all over social media, maybe as early as tonight. But no, but I'm happy you know why, eh? Because right now we have a bunch of people watching us on YouTube Live. We have a bunch of people watching us on Facebook Live. We've got a bunch of people watching us on Twitter Live, and some of them probably agree with what you're saying. But the second you just said that, some people probably went like this. put their hands on their head and started saying, well, no, because if he plays center, he's not going to play with Suzuki and Caulfield except for on the power play.
Let's be clear. He's not going to play center. I'm just saying he's got a lot of tools, I think, to be a good center. Hey, I mean, we saw Brent Burns play forward. Like everything is possible. That's not what I wish for, but I think my point was he's that good of a hockey player.
This coming in from Leo X. Tony, admit it, you never watched the kid play in La Liga and that you barely watched the Olympics and that you only scouted Slafkovsky by looking at Hockey DB. Anyone who watched him play before the National Hockey League knew. Yeah, because Leo watched all his games in La Liga, okay? So, Leo, no, you know what? I did not watch Slafkovsky play in La Liga, and I'm willing to bet that you behind the keyboard did not either, okay? That's number one. Number two, I did watch Slafkovsky play in the Olympics. Number three, I did watch Slafkovsky play in the World Championships. And number four, I talked to a lot of scouts who did watch Slafkovsky play at all levels. But he still surprised me, and he's still surprising others as well. Leo, go suck an egg. All right, okay, continue. There we go. That's it. That's it. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Hey, that's nice. You came prepared with the shades, and you came prepared with the glasses tonight.
Right before we started the podcast, I go upstairs. I ask my wife, I say, do you have like something to spray water and sunglasses? She goes, why? I'm like, I have no idea why he does that during the podcast, but I want to do it too tonight.
Good one. All right. So now all the experts are coming out. Julian Pereira says, Tony, hold on a second here. Tony, where is he? Tony, stop spraying olive oil everywhere. First of all, it's not olive oil, Julian. And secondly, it's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. All right, guys, girls, it's my podcast. I can do it. Hey, somebody sent me this the other day. They said to me, they said, hey, Tony, can you stop spraying your hair? You're no longer in radio. You're in a podcast now. We see you. Duh. Don't you think I do it because it's kind of become like a running gag? And that's why I do it? You actually think I spray my hair because I actually think I just have to put water in my hair? I do it because it's become a running gag on the podcast. That's why I do it. God. Oh, my God. All right. Julian, go to the park. Go fly a kite. It's nice out. All right. Okay. Everyone's coming out tonight. So tonight, that Slafkovsky picked up his first 3-point night in the National Hockey League. Tonight, all the experts are coming out. Everyone knew he was a great playmaker. Everyone knew that he was a great point getter. Everyone knew that he was a great goal scorer. Everyone knew that he was dominant. And by the way, if they end up playing him at center at one point, and he turns out to be pretty good, they're going to have known that he was a great centerman. Oh, but they're also the same ones who are saying that he got caught with his head down too many times. He probably should have been in Laval because of his confidence. But they're not on record. We do podcasts. Everything we say is on record. Give it to us. Don't take it. You hide behind the keyboard there and say that you knew all along. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Mimi e kogo para de chibol. All right, okay.
Did you sleep last night? You look edgy a little bit. You okay, Tony?
I said, give me entertainment. Now, on the other hand, if I'm Pat Verbeek,
yeah,
I'm livid tonight. Like, look, we know that they're tanking. We know you know what this looked like? With all due respect to Dominic Ducharme, remember when the Canadiens were tanking and they were like losing those games? They weren't tanking because the tank started after. When he left, they decided to go in tank mode. He was not in a rebuild. But when they were getting blown out because the care level just went down the drain, that's what Anaheim looked like tonight. Oh, and by the way, if somebody tells me again that Trevor Zegras is a bad egg in that locker room and the culture is bad in Anaheim because of Trevor Zegras and that he's individual and he's hey, Trevor Zegras is hurt. He wasn't playing tonight. They suck without him. Suck.
Yeah, that's tough to watch, huh? When you watch Anaheim and Chicago, like it's I know they got good young guys, but this is where the line needs to be drawn. Like the culture, it's still important when you're losing. And it's okay to lose when you're a young team, and you don't have to accept it, but there's a way to lose. I think you need to be in a certain structure. You need to show that you're fighting for a spot in the NHL. And even on the other team, I'm watching veterans, and I'm like, man, if you want to get out of there, give your chance to get out of there. Play a good game so somebody comes and get you. Like it's embarrassing. Like they have pretty good players when you look at it on paper. They're not a bad team, but tough effort.
All right. They looked bad tonight. It was pretty awful. It was pretty awful the way they looked. Hey, Gignac scores his first goal. And you know what? The first time I saw him play, I said, this kid's got energy. He's got NHL wheels. He can skate. And you know what? Because of the injuries, Evans is playing up in the lineup, or else Evans probably would have been on the fourth line. But because of the injuries, now we're seeing Gignac. I like him. When you talk about those kids, these guts chez nous, that they know what it means to be a Montreal Canadien. They know the history. They know the culture. They were Canadiens fans growing up. I follow him on Facebook. I don't know if you saw this. I follow him on Facebook. He actually put up a picture of him in a Canadiens uniform as a kid, and he put up a post saying, my dream come true, playing for the Montreal Canadiens. Well, tonight he scored his first goal with the Montreal Canadiens, his first goal in the National Hockey League. His dream come true must be amazing. I like him.
Oh yeah, best feeling in the world. You know what? Actually,
you were saying? Did I miss out what you were saying?
That's what he's going to get tonight. First goal. That's what you get. First goal in the NHL.
That's what you get? Like that? Wow. Let me see that. First goal in the National Hockey League, 14th of December 2006 versus Tampa Bay. 4-2, but de Lapierre. Assist going to Komisarek and Murray. 6:38 in the third. Marc Denis was your goalie.
Yeah, that's what he's going to get tonight.
On Marc Denis, pardon me. On Marc Denis.
Yeah. So Gignac is going to get one of those. That's a good moment, like for playing for the Canadiens.
What other trophies you have there?
I got Clarence Campbell. I got the first hat trick. I got the President Trophy. I got two of them from Vancouver.
Wow! So every player gets a mini trophy of either winning the conference or winning or finishing first overall in the league.
I was pretty close from getting my small little Stanley Cup, but Game 7 went wrong.
When you do win the Stanley Cup, does everyone get a little Stanley Cup too?
Yeah, same size than this one.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I think what he brings, Tony, is phenomenal. Gignac, like the speed, and let's forget about where the players are from for a minute. I think this is the future. Yeah. You need people that bring something, because when you have speed and you're having a tough night, you still find a way to have an impact on the game. When you don't have speed and you're having a tough night, and I don't want to take him as an example because he's a great guy for the team. He has been great, but a guy like Gallagher, if he doesn't have his leg for a night and doesn't feel right, he doesn't bring anything to the table, But a guy with speed always going to bring something.
I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because you know what? The Canadiens were not very good on the weekend, okay? So it's not like the Canadiens are a fantastic team without Gallagher.
Yeah.
But I'm getting used to seeing them without Gallagher and an opportunity for other players. Gignac has made the most of it, but it's not up to Gignac. It's Ylonen who's playing on the wing. I'm going to tell you this. Ylonen blew a real good opportunity, Ylonen blew it. And these 5 games that Gallagher's been suspended, it was up to Ylonen to step up. Yeah, he's been the least convincing Canadiens player, I think.
Tony, I think he still works hard. The problem with those players is you need to find a way to be good offensively. Like, when you look at him, you get a good shot, good hands, good speed. But they need to score points to be able to crack the lineup because they're not tough enough or they don't bring enough defensively to play on the third and fourth line and have a serious impact on the game. And then he's good, but he's not consistent enough to he won't have points every night in the NHL. And those are the type of players I always thought it was tough for them because they fall in between. They're not first liners, second liners, but they're also not third or fourth liners. So they cannot find a chair. Marty St. Louis has been talking about find your chair within the team.
Yeah.
There's no chairs for players that are in between everywhere. That's his problem. He's a good hockey player, but like you said, I think he missed a great opportunity to make the team long term.
Hey, by the way, did you see the final score between the LA Kings and the Buffalo Sabres tonight?
No.
The Sabres won 7-0.
Unreal, eh? Unreal. The
Anze Kopitar was -6 tonight. He was -6. Anze Kopitar, one of the best 200-foot players in the National Hockey League the last 15 years, was -6 tonight.
Yeah, well,
That's unbelievable.
They had a great start, but when you look at it, you got Kopitar, you got Danault, you got Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you got Byfield. You basically have 4 centers that want to play first center. I don't think that works on a team. Everybody wants to play the same amount of time on the first power play. At the end of the day, they might be good teammates, but when you're frustrated inside, you don't play the right way. And maybe I'm wrong, but if you got 4 centers, like Tony, they don't have the ice time they want. That's for sure. I'm not saying this is why they're losing, but that's never good. Anyway, to me, that's my opinion.
So here we are, February 13th. Last year, I think it was February 1st or February 2nd. And George Larac was on the show. George is a very emotional guy. I thought I was emotional. George is part of that, George Larac, Norma Flynn. Those 2 guys, very good friends of mine, and they've been on with me a million times, whether it was, radio or podcast and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But those are guys that they always want to trade, every week they're trading somebody new, right? Every week they're trading somebody to try and get better right away, better right away. George last year said that he was going to trade Juraj Slafkovsky and others, put together a package for Dubois. I said to him, George, you lost your mind or what? First of all, Pierre-Luc Dubois, it doesn't beat with the same amount of beats as the average NHLer. He lacks intensity. He lacks consistency. He's one of those players where he's not in the mood to play. It's kind of like Yoel Armia, Josh Anderson all over again. I get it. When he's on, he's a better player than them.
Yeah.
But you can't trade a first pick overall at the age of 18 for a Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's already been in the league as long as he's been in the league. We already know what kind of player he is. Not to mention the money factor. The guy he wanted a new contract, right? He ended up signing a contract at over $8 million a year for a guy who's on an entry-level contract and is only going to end up being at his best 5 or 6 years from now. Anyway.
You know what, Tony? Like during my career, I noticed one thing is it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter the age. The character of a player never change. Yes, players, they get better. Yes, they evolve. They can have good times. But the character of a player always come back to his real nature at one point during the season. And that normally is when things are starting to go wrong. Everybody is a great player when you're winning and when you get your points and when everybody's smiling. When it's cloudy in there, this is where you see the real character of a player. And I've never seen somebody that you say when you talk about a player, you say you had a very bad attitude at the beginning and it changed. You cannot change a human being. You either like to work or you don't like to work. You don't go to school and say, okay, I learned how I love to work. You know,
There's three players that come to my mind. Unfortunately, for what it's they're all from the province of Quebec, but it's just a coincidence. But Pierre-Luc Dubois, Jonathan Drouin, and Jonathan Huberdeau, they're all incredible talents. But they all love to play when they're in the mood to play. They all love to play when the game's coming easy. They all love to play when it becomes a wide open game. And they all love to play when they have the puck on their stick. But when the game gets tougher, or they don't have the puck on their stick, or it's a different kind of game, or they're not in the mood to play, it's a disaster.
You know what?
It's too bad, but it's like that.
This is why there's so many teams that win in the playoffs, and you're like, why are they so good? Like, why are they so good in the playoffs? They're half of the team, you don't even see them in the regular season. It's because on a Monday night in Carolina, the little details, they don't matter. It's just another game. But when it's 7 games in 10 days or in 14 days against the same guy that does the details, then it's tough to win a hockey game against those guys.
Hey, so with the way Slafkovsky's going, his first 3-point game of his career, he's on a point streak right now, 19 points in his last 22 games. What's this guy going to look like at 25?
I'm excited. I cannot wait to see him in the playoffs, first of all, and at one point in his career. But I don't want to be careful in what I'm saying, but we need to take a step back too at the same time. Like he's having a great moment right now, but he's still trying to discover who he is in the NHL. And right now,
and he's going to end up having some lows again.
He's going to have lows again, but I think he's got the full package. I think just because the way he reacts defensively, and I just talk about details, but stick on stick, back check, going to the net, understanding where to get open, all those little things that are important to have success in the NHL, he's got it naturally. He's a hard worker. We've seen him all week practicing with Dr. Shot and practicing after practice, and I heard he's first at the rink, last out of the rink. That matters, Tony. When you're 19 years old, and that, what the next test is for him is he going to become in the next few games a cookie monster now that he likes having points and goals every game? Is he going to start cheating a little bit on the other side? I don't think it will happen, but that's the normal progression for a young guy now, is to keep playing the same way and focus on the process and not focus on the stats. And if next game he doesn't have a point, he cannot start cheating, He has to, and I'm pretty sure he does, he has to trust that the way he's playing right now is going to make him have a lot of success in the NHL. Good luck paying this guy in a few years.
Hey, Marty St. Louis, tonight was a great game for the coaching staff. And once again, Anaheim was terrible. Okay, but let's bring up the lineup if we can. Let's bring up the 2 lineups. All right, so for the Montreal Canadiens, Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Caulfield. On the second line, Evans, Anderson, Pearson. On the third line, we haven't even talked about Evans' goal, by the way. A nice play, Anderson to Pearson to Evans, backhand and close. He's got good hands, Jake Evans. He surprises people. Newhook with Armia on his right and Joshua Roy on his left. Gignac with Ulanen on his right, Pizzette on his left. On defense, Matheson, Gouli, Struble, Savard, Jacki, Kovacevic, and Caden Primo was in goal. For the Anaheim Ducks, all right, Carlson in between Strome and Enrique, McTavish in between Terry and Vetrano, Lundestrom in between Silverberg and Jones, and Carrick in between Grew and Johnston. On defense, Lacombe, Fowler, Vikinen, Gudash, Mintyukov, and Lyubushkin, and in goal was Dostal. All right, there's 2 or 3 things I love from the coaching staff today. Number 1, when it was starting to get dirty down the stretch, and there were some scraps in this game, there were 3 of them. Kovacevic fought, Gouli fought, Jacki fought, 3 defensemen fought for the Canadiens. But when it was clear that some Anaheim players wanted to start something purposely because they had to, save face a little bit in front of their coach, or trying to show that, hey, you know what, I'm upset that we lost, Marty St. Louis put a lot of tough guys and some depth players on the ice at the end. He had Jack-Eye and Pizzetta killing a penalty just in case something happened. He had his fourth liners just in case something happened. He's not putting Caulfield and Suzuki on the ice down the stretch when it started to get ugly. That was very, very smart of him. Wise move, number one.
Yep.
Number two, there's something else that I liked. Because the game was out of whack, you didn't need to play Matheson as much as you played him. Unfortunately, he still got a little bit too much for me. He got 23-12. I would have liked it to be a little bit less, but Goulet 19-19, Struble 17-28, Savard 17-01, Kovacevic 16-48, Jack-Eye 16-33. There was less of a gap, and the minutes were more balanced, right? We didn't see Jack-Eye getting 10 minutes tonight. We saw Jack-Eye getting over 16 and a half.
That was perfect.
You know, it was good.
With a fight.
The way they managed the minutes with a fight. And Kovacevic got 16-48 with a fight. It was, you know, it was well balanced. It was good. It was very, very good.
You know what? You're talking about Kovacevic, and I'm obviously not saying we're going to get much for him, but I wonder if there's not a team right now looking at him at the trade deadline. I'm not saying he's a top 6, but in a good team, but he's a good safety net, I think. He's a defenseman that does his little job. He's not flashy. He seems like a great teammate. Can play tough, you know, like simple off the glass type of defenseman. Like, I wonder if there's not a team that could offer a little something for guys like, you know, like Kovacevic to me, obviously not to the same level, but he brings a little bit the same thing that Josh Georges was bringing when I was playing, you know, like he's going to block shot. He's going to do his little job. I think he's been good for the Canadian. Like, he's giving time to the young defenseman to improve and get more ice time, and he's just accepting his role, and you need those type of players in the dressing room.
You know, I'm torn on this player, and I'm going to tell you why. I take a look at the Canadiens and all the young defensemen that they have, and Jordan Harris and Justin Barron and Struble, obviously, and Jack-Eye and Logan Mailloux and Lane Hudson's going to be coming, and Reinbacker's going to be coming, and you're going to have to make room for these guys, right? So to make room for these guys, they can't all play here. Some of them are going to go. So Kovacevic is the guy that comes to mind that he's going to go. But this guy is a 6'5", 225-pound defenseman who can take care of himself, okay?
Yeah.
Who's a right-handed shot, and he makes $767,000 a year.
Exactly.
And that's going to be a salary next year too.
Yeah.
Like this guy in his mid-20s at $767,000 this year and next year, right-handed defenseman at 6'5", this guy would be like a team's dream, especially in a salary cap world, and especially in a depth world, especially for a team that's going to make the playoffs. And here we are, and we're thinking that he's going to have to be the one that's going to go to make room for the others. It's kind of crazy, but in a way, it's
in a
probably
way,
a nice problem to have. It means you have a lot of depth, right?
You have a lot of depth, but at one point, you know, like if you start looking at, like, let's say we do a projection right now. Your Goulet is there for sure. You know, Mailloux is doing great in the American Hockey League. Hudson is supposed to be coming, and everybody's saying he's unreal, but obviously we know he's unreal, but we're going to wait to see what he's going to do in the NHL first. We have a lot of great defensemen, but I see defensemen that are going to make a lot of money, you know, like, and you need guys like Kovacevic, you need guys like Harris, you need guys like Jack-Eye that are going to be on the lower part of the salary cap. You cannot have 6 superstar on D.
I'm glad you said this, because someone just said in the YouTube chat, I'm trying to see where it is. It's Jason Teal says Tony Kovacevic is not going to be here. Other guys will be making the same kind of money. He's right. But some of the other guys with their potential could end up making a lot of money. Kovacevic, you get the feeling he'll never earn a lot of money. Right?
Well, I guess we'll see with time, but my point is, the goal right now is we know we have great defensemen. We want to improve the forward position, right? Kovacevic won't improve your forward position. So you will need there's so many factors. First, the salary. Second, if you want to go get a first two line forward that's going to be good on the power play, you're not going to get in with Kovacevic. Like you're going to need at one point. There's going to be a trade coming in the next 2 years that will hurt the fan base and that will hurt Kent Hughes when he takes the phone and says deal. You have no choice. Like that's something in Montreal. Sometimes I feel like we're just thinking like the other team is going to give us Wayne Gretzky for 2 second rounders. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to give someone that you're like, I can't believe he's leaving, but we will have to do it because we're missing that superstar up front. I'm sorry, but we're in the right direction, but we're missing that. And we have great players. I know Suzuki is good. Caulfield, Slafkovsky. We need one more top superstar with Dak healthy. Then we're starting to talk.
By the way, the David Savard played a great game tonight. And you talk about other teams watching. There's going to be teams that are going to want David Savard. There's going to be teams that are going to want David Savard. He has a year left on his contract after this year at $3.5 million. For me, he's not going to extend it. They're not going to extend him. So he'll be traded at the very latest by next year's trade deadline. Yeah. Would you trade him by this year's deadline, Friday, March 8th? Would you trade him?
That would not be my plan right now. But if I get a great offer, you have no choice. Like we're at that stage in the rebuild that you have to listen for everyone. There's no, like, obviously not the young guys, but even for Madison, like, I know I said that before. I don't know if it was on your podcast, but right now you got a guy like in Tampa Bay, like Sergachev, he's out for the season basically, right? Yeah. Yeah. Like you would think that to some level, a guy like Matheson kind of fills a little bit. Like he's like a B option to replace a guy like Sergachev. I know they're not the same type of player, but I understand. Teams are looking minutes. Like look at his stats right now. It's attractive, like he's got a lot of points. Like he's good. Mike Matheson would be on the second wave of a power play in Tampa, and he'd be able to log 24 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. Exactly. And then you get a guy like Savard. Who's the piece that is missing in a good team is a guy like Savard, the defenseman that's going to block shot, that's going to be perfect defensively. He won the cup with Tampa Bay. I'm not saying we need to get rid of both. Because we still need. You can't get rid of both. No. You can't get rid of both. You still need veterans. You're right. You cannot close the door to any offers, and you need to say, let's think about it. Because Madison is phenomenal in his role right now. But what is he going to be when, let's say, everything works like suppose? Mailloux is good on the power play, and Hudson is good on the power play. I'm sorry, but Madison is not a third pair defenseman. I don't see him in that role. So we'll have to see. You get the feeling where they're playing Goalie at right D. They're already preparing for Savard to be traded, whether it's this year or next year. But they have so many left-handed defensemen that the right-handed defensemen they have are not here right now. Logan Mailloux in Laval, Justin Barron's in Laval, and Reinbacher's in Switzerland. I think they're preparing, and I'm just saying that, but I think they're preparing Goalie to play with Hudson. Preparing Goalie to play with Hudson. Goalie right, Hudson left. I think you need a guy like every single Makar's got Taze. Letang had Scuderi in Pittsburgh, Doughty had what was his name? Was it Green or no, the guy in Toronto, he's hurt now right now, like the Muslin. Like every single top-notch offensive player in the NHL always has that guy that can skate and be very good defensively with a little bit of offense. So Reinbacher will end up playing in Matheson as you look into your crystal ball a couple of years from now, maybe next year. We'll see, but that's going to be interesting because now you mentioned Reinbacher, you got Mailloux on the right, Goulet, like it's tough, man. Like and Mailloux can play with Xhekaj, and when Xhekaj is not playing, Strubal's in. I don't know. When Strubal's not in, Xhekaj's in. I think we're all set on D. It still begs the question, where's Jordan Harris going to be and where's Justin Barron going to be? But, man, wow. Okay. Hey, that's a great problem to have. back to the – okay, he doesn't get a lot of fanfare,
but you said it at the beginning of the show. What a great job Alex Newhook has done since he's come back.
Yeah.
And
still,
pretty big shoes to fill with Monahan gone.
Yeah.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, you can see he's got something there. His skating is unreal. I think his work ethic is really good. I still don't know where I put him, though. I don't know if he's a good complement to a second line or a very good third line player. I'm still analyzing the situation with him. Obviously, we need to see more games. He's still a young player. I don't think it would be considered as a disappointment if he ends up being a great third line player that can skate. We'll see again. Like, I'm not even sure if I want him at center or wing, but he's got the wheels. He's skating well. I mean, he's got talent. He's got skills. He's good on the power play.
If he ends up being your third line center, you're building quite a team.
Exactly. But that's the point, right? Name me one team that won the Stanley Cup in the last 10 years that doesn't have a great third line. Just think of when Tampa won. You think they miss Yanni Gourde right now? You know?
Yeah.
Like you think when Pittsburgh won, there was Stahl, right? That was the third line center. Obviously, it was Ben Crosby and Malkin, but every team has
Jordan
a great
Stahl.
third line center. Every team.
As a matter of fact, though, even Tampa, when they won 1 year, sometimes they even had Stamkos on a second line because Stamkos can play center and wing, and sometimes it was Anthony Cirelli, but now Cirelli's obviously moved up to be their number 2. You're right.
Just think at Vegas, like Vegas got guys like Carlson,
Yeah, with Jack Eichel number 1, Chandler Stevenson number 2, William Karlsson number 3,
exactly,
and Nicolas Roy number 4. A lot of depth there. St. Louis Blues. Who did they have? I think they had what was his name? Bozak.
Yeah,
I think Bozak was on the third line. Maybe even Robert Thomas was on the third or fourth line when they won the cup there a couple of years ago.
And that's one thing, Tony. I hope, and I'm pretty sure they will. But it's important to have great role players that are specialists. It's okay to dream about the best top 2 line in the NHL, but there's also a great job to be done for the third and fourth line, because the goal is not to have a team that can make the playoffs. The goal is to win the Stanley Cup. And when we're going to fix a team to be able to win the Stanley Cup, we're going to be good on every line.
Okay, so based on what you've seen from Joshua Roy, can he end up being a second-line winger?
He's got some work to do. He's got the skills. Like tonight, the shot he took on the post, and the thing was in the first period, at the end of the first.
Yeah.
Not many guys can shoot the puck that quick, that hard. Like that. I know he's got a great shot. He's a smart player offensively. It's simple. He's still got a lot of work to do to be a top 2 line in the NHL on a team that makes the playoff.
Hey, we have 1,211 people watching us live right now on YouTube. It's not bad.
Thanks for watching, guys. And I'm drinking water. Can't believe it.
Wow. What happened? You're not drinking beer right now or what?
It's our podcast tomorrow, like I cannot go 2 nights in a row, Tony.
You can't go 2 nights in a row, eh?
Yeah, once in a while. You're drinking water too. Good job.
Yeah,
athletes.
Here we go.
We're real athletes.
All right, okay, so we have to give them a show now because we got 1,200 people watching. Yeah. All right, okay, so for those who are just joining us, you just said 3 minutes ago, for those who just joined us,
Tony,
you would trade
don't
Suzuki,
worry.
Caulfield, and Slafkovsky right now.
Don't worry about the time. I got time. I don't need to go at 11 if you
okay, I got. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So why don't we do this? Let's stay on until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Perfect. I've done it until 5 a.m. So don't try me.
You've done it until 5 a.m. What are we talking about? Your honeymoon or what?
It wasn't that long, no. The story of my honeymoon could be just for a commercial, but not for a full show.
All right, okay. No, I was kidding, by the way. He did not say to trade Suzuki, Caulfield, or Slafkovsky, but Max has been on the Slafkovsky bandwagon for a long time, but in all areas of his game, in terms of his goal scoring, his passing, his playmaking, his vision, his IQ, his heads up. Like, you've been fully convinced from day one I didn't think he was going to be as good a playmaker as he's been. I'm really surprised by his 200-foot game. And I didn't think that he was going to be this good, this fast. We know he's in a good moment. There's going to be some tough times ahead. You can't always go like this. He's going to end up going like this at one point until he ends up going like this consistently. But there's going to be some down periods. No. And I have to say, no matter what happens to the Montreal Canadiens, to Adam Nicholas, their entire development team, Marty St. Louis, Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, everyone part of the process to say, keep him here. Don't send him to Laval. We're going to be able to do just fine with him here. They were right. Yeah. They were right. They were right. I'm happy that I'm proud to say that I said, okay, it's not looking good right now at one point, but before you think of sending him to Laval, can you please give him 10 games with Caulfield and Suzuki in a row to see what he can do? Because it just seemed like if he's playing with third liners, they might not be on the same page as him. And, the turning point because the Canadiens, they're not going to make the playoffs, Max. But putting Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky together has done wonders for all three of their games. All of them. And this is going to it's going to accelerate the rebuild.
100%. That's a good point there. At the Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Goulet are going to decide of the speed of the rebuild. Is that simple. If Slafkovsky is improving at that pace until mid-season next year, then the management is going to have to start thinking the same way the New York Rangers did when Gorton was there. At one point, they said, we have the chance to take Panarin. They look at the people in the room and they're like, we got to do it. We got to do it now. Doesn't matter the price, because I think the guys, they can hold their ground when it's time to play against good teams in the playoffs. And obviously, I think Suzuki is there now. I think he in the last few months, he just crossed that line that he became a guy that now we won't talk about his improvement that much. He's a solid hockey player and he's a leader and he does his things. I think Caulfield is 80% there. I think he's still got a low 20% to work on, that he's going to be like a leader, super, super good player for their organization, but he still has some improvement to do in his game. Slafkovsky, obviously, he's young and we give him time and we don't have to hurry anything. But when you look at the lineup, when you look at the defensemen, you look at the job Montembeault has done in net, I don't think we're that far away. Like, I don't think we're 15 players away anymore. That's
how
obviously,
many players?
But obviously,
how many players away are the Montreal Canadiens to becoming a contender? And I'm not going to say Stanley
okay,
Cup
that's different.
Yet, but there's Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
There's contender, and there's playoff team.
Yeah.
How many players are the Canadiens away from being in that second category, contender, where they're going to make the playoffs and they could be favored to win the first round?
You're 2 forwards away, that's for sure. Two forwards to play on the first 2 lines.
2 forwards to play on the first 2 lines.
To be a contender or to be a first-round team?
To be a contender. Not a Stanley Cup contender, a contender.
Okay, to be a contender, let's say right now, let's be honest, we need a guy to play with Duck, and we need Duck to be healthy. So
yes,
that's the start. Okay, we need a veteran defenseman.
Hold on. You need 2 guys to play with Duck.
Well, it depends on you.
You want Newhook to be your third line center.
It depends. Obviously we want as much as we can to play with Doc, but we're missing 2 forwards and we're missing the real QB on the power play, like the real Chris Letang type of player. And then
you're missing.
Not to be a Stanley Cup contender, though. I think we're far away. If I look at the depth of teams like Colorado, teams like Vegas, we're not there yet. But to make the playoff,
you need to cross your fingers that Lane Hudson of BU plays like that at the National Hockey League level and can dominate like that at the National Hockey League level. Now it's a very Big task.
That would be a game
But he's-
changer. That would be.
But
a
he's
game
got
changer.
talent off
Yeah.
the charts. His talent is amazing.
If you look at the D core is going to be, like we've been talking about Vegas a lot on that show. Like if you look at Vegas D, they're probably, I would say, one of the best in the NHL, top 3. And
Yeah.
they have nothing spectacular. Like they have just very good players.
Well, Petrangelo's a horse.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Pietrangelo
He's a horse.
He's one of my. I had him as a teammate. He's unreal, but he's not Makar. He's not like Hughes.
No.
He's a solid defenseman.
He's in the second category, though. He's in this category below.
And that's what we could look at for a guy like Goulet, Reinbacher. I'm not saying they're Pietrangelo, but they can look at those players and say, maybe I can play this type of game at one point in my career, And if we got guys like this, because we're talking about Hudson as being Makar, but what about if he just becomes a Theodore? We're still in business. He's still a great defenseman. So I think I think we're so ready in a few years with all the defensemen we have.
Okay, so now the Canadiens have 8,000 draft picks over the next couple of years. So much so that you put up a GIF of someone in a crowd. You have it here on your phone of taking a selfie with an arena full of people, and you're like, yeah, look, here's Kent Hughes with all of his draft picks. Okay, we know what his plan is. Okay, we know what his plan is. His plan is going to be to stockpile the draft picks and to pull off deals the way he did for Doc and the way he did for Newhook, and maybe bring in a couple of more players, because he's not going to use all 23, 24 over the next couple of years to draft every single one. He's not going to do that. But then there's another joker that you can use. And the joker is going to be, like you just talked about, the Rangers with Panarin. Unrestricted free agent. But as you know, Montreal is at a very hard time of attracting unrestricted free agents.
Yep.
A very hard time, because out of, all the reasons that we know, right? It snows, mind you, it's been a good winter. It's cold, mind you, it's been a good winter. The streets, the potholes, the taxes, the language, the schools, and you can't go fishing in December unless you're ice fishing. You can't go to the beach unless you want to go to Verdun, and it's polluted like you can't believe. You're probably going to end up losing your leg. And maybe they don't want to come here because they don't want to end up paying for a roof on Olympic Stadium. That's a 50-year-old building that's falling apart. But anyway, all kidding aside, you, Maxim Lapierre, and you don't have to say Montreal's amazing, because we're here, we're in Montreal. Mostly everyone watching is doing is our Canadiens fans right now. But you, Max, you played with the Canadiens.
Yeah.
You left, you went to Anaheim for a cup of coffee. You left there, you went to Vancouver for a couple of years. You left there, you went to St. Louis for a couple of years. You left there, you went to Pittsburgh for a cup of coffee, and then you left, and you ended up playing in Switzerland and Sweden and Germany, and ended your career in Germany, I think. But so you played in different markets. You played with a bunch of guys who also played on different teams. You've seen a lot of the National Hockey League. Somebody in the NHL who's going to go free agent this year or next year picks up the phone, they call you. Hey, Max, you played for the Canadiens. You're working media now. You know what the vibe is. What can you tell me? Should I sign with the Canadiens? Let's just say it's me and you talking here, and no one can hear us. So because, you don't want to offend anyone. Just me and you talking off the record. An NHLer calls you and says, I'm thinking of signing with Montreal. I'm looking at Tampa. I'm looking at Dallas. I'm looking at Los Angeles. I'm looking at Florida. What would you say?
Why would he come in Montreal?
Would you tell him, yes, come, it's a good idea? Or would you say, if you have a chance to sign somewhere else, sign somewhere else?
I would if I have great players on my team. If you get something as a player that you look at and you have a chance to win, it's attractive. Tony, like we always been talking about players should be attracted about the Montreal Canadiens because of the history of the Montreal Canadiens, And I understand 100% for people that love the Montreal Canadiens. Like a guy like me that when I was looking at a picture of Maurice Richard in the dressing room, I felt like crying every time, every game, every year I played. It got me right to the heart, right? But
Wow.
I lived it when I went to play somewhere else. And that's not to disrespect the other organization, but when people were talking about legends from other teams, I had respect for them, obviously, but I had no goosebumps. Like it wasn't like wow for me. It was like, well, this guy had a great career, and well, good job, he won a Stanley Cup. Like it was just respect. It wasn't getting that passion out of me. So we always have to think that for other players, you talk about the weather, the taxes, what's attractive, what's the next thing a hockey player that never leaves you when you start playing hockey when you're young is you like winning. You can say whatever
Stanley
you want
Cup.
about players.
You dream
can
of
say,
the Stanley Cup.
you dream about the Stanley Cup. And we've been talking about the Montreal market and all that, but what did we have to offer as a hockey teams in the last few years? Like who is going to sign here? Why would he sign here except if that's the only chance he has to have a contract or make money? Why would he come here? Now, players, you're looking at guys are smart. Like you're looking like, oh, if I go there, I'm a winger. I can play with Suzuki or Duck. So these guys can pass the puck and can score goals. So it's starting to be attractive. Like it's starting to be a good thing. You need a team to attract people. You need coaches like Marty St. Louis that will convince you because he's the right guy to do that. Like having a good hockey team, I think, is the first most important thing. Like you talk about taxes and all that. Trust me, there's a lot of taxes in New York as well. Like
Yes.
in Toronto. So
In LA as well.
yeah, just put a good team on the ice, and you'll see. Guys will start to come here at one point.
So when you were playing for other teams,
Yeah,
and they were playing in Montreal, and they're getting on that road trip, and we're going to Montreal.
yeah.
What were guys talking about besides Shea Paré?
Well, they were just saying it's a fun building to play in and all that, but
They talked about Shea Paré, though, eh? Tell me the
yeah,
truth.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So when you played for other teams and you made your way to Montreal, if you had a couple of nights off before a game, usually, but even if just the night before the game, would you guys go to Shea Paré?
No, not the night
No.
before.
Not the night before.
I think guys would go after games and all that. Like I heard that's a strip club, right?
Yeah. Well, come on, you never stop. You have a VIP card in your back pocket. That
easy. No, but I think like we've been talking a lot about the tradition, but that was for me like the last time it was '93.
See the way you stopped talking about it. He just stopped talking about it.
What do you want me to say about it?
His wife in the other room watching the podcast right now. She's listening, and
She is.
if he says anything about going, he's gonna get a beat.
No. No. I'm not sure.
No, but hold on a second. Guys went after the game, but you mean the Canadiens players, not the visiting team? The visiting team's got to fly out after the game.
No, we don't always fly out, especially when you play far the next game. You just skip. Like it's better to stay the same night if you have
And
long
fly out
travel.
the next day?
Yeah, for sure. You won't fly
So
6 hours after the game to go to Edmonton, or not Edmonton, but to go to California. Like you're gonna go.
Okay.
The next day. Yeah.
So after a game, there's no curfew after a game. Like they're not. You can do whatever you want, pretty much. Or
Well, it's the NHL. Like obviously, sometimes the coaches will say it's time to take it easy a little bit, but reality is they're grown men. Like you do whatever you want, and you have to perform though. Like a lot of coaches I played for, they would come in the room and say, "Do whatever you want, guys. I don't care, but show up for the game. Like make sure you do your job and you do it well." That's it.
perform at the game, not perform at the strip club.
Jeez, do you want me to pick you up and take you there or something? Like, do you need like? Are you actually taking the Viagra you brought on my podcast the other day, or?
I'll see you there in 30 minutes.
Well,
No,
next time don't take one before the podcast.
No, I talked about this, but a lot of my friends take Viagra, and they got me a little bit curious about it because they're all in their 50s like me, and they all take it. But I don't like taking pills because of side effects. I told you this, but I asked my doctor about it, and he said if you take it, you can go for 4 hours, For 20 minutes more, I don't think it's worth it, Max. I really don't. The best part is some people are watching and are probably believe, oh, wow, my God, he can go for 3.5 hours. No, I can't. None of us can. All right, okay.
What is it?
Right.
10 minutes per inches?
Hey, so La Poche Bleue, we'll give it a plug tomorrow night. La Poche Bleue.
Yeah.
Who do you have on the show tomorrow night?
Vincent Desharnais from the Edmonton Oilers.
You know what? He's been on the Sick podcast before. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's a real one.
You know what?
Do you know the story about the book? Do you know the story about the book? Has he ever told you?
What book?
He keeps a diary. Every day, he writes in his diary, good day, bad day, this happened, that happened, and reads it all the time. And he's got a couple of quotes in there when he's kind of down to read some of the quotes to kind of like pick them back up and whatever. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, he talked about that on the podcast before.
That's awesome.
He also talked about I think he said he made a mistake at one point, and he went up to Connor McDavid and he said, sorry, Connor, because of my mistake, you got the dash now on the play. Where you're going to get a minus, right?
Yeah.
And Connor McDavid looked at him and said, I play to win, and I'm playing to win the Stanley Cup. I don't care about a minus, right? And it's a nice story to hear because for whatever reason, just because Connor McDavid has not won the cup, there are some who believe that he's an individual player and he's never going to win the cup. Look, there are some great players who don't end up winning the cup, but more often than not, I think great players end up winning the cup. I'm willing to bet that Connor McDavid's going to win a Stanley Cup. And I know that people watching right now are really going to hate that I'm going to say this. If I were a betting man, I'd be willing to bet that Austin Matthews is going to win the Stanley Cup too. Doesn't mean he'll win it with Toronto, but I think he's a great player, and I think he's going to end up winning it.
I think Matthews is improving as a player, that's for sure. He's becoming a solid two-way center. I know I'm the first one. I wasn't seeing him as a defensive, not a defensive, but a guy that cares, but you just need to bring the grit level one notch a little higher.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. But, hey, Tony, there's no miracles in the NHL. If you don't have a good D and a good goalie, you're not going to win. It doesn't matter if you have 4 guys scoring 50 goals a year in front. If you don't have good defensemen and a good goalie, you're not going to win. And they still didn't fix that.
So, and we'll end it with this. You believe that when the Canadiens become – because you said they're a couple of forwards away and a quarterback on the power play.
Not from winning the cup, from being okay.
No, from being a playoff team.
Yeah.
And okay. Do you believe that Samuel Montembeault can take the Canadiens there when they're...
Hey, I'm going to say this to finish, Tony. I don't know.
He's been great this year.
I don't know if he's the guy that's going to make you win a cup, but if you look at a guy like Aiden Hill in Vegas, who looks like a transformer right now in net, he's huge. He stops everything. I think he's 93% or close to 94% save percentage, 189 goals against per game. If you look at his career, he started in Arizona, didn't work. Went to San Jose, didn't work. Went to Vegas when they had 5 injuries in net. They had a good kid like Thompson that was supposed to be the next guy. They had, I think it was Brossois, if I'm right.
Yeah, Laurent Brossois.
Yeah, Aiden Hill came in net, won the Stanley Cup. You would say, okay, that was just a ride like Binnington had in St. Louis, and he's never going to be good again. He's the best goalie in the NHL this year. Period. So
it's an incredible story.
Could Montembeault do the same thing? He's a big goalie. He's improving every year. I don't know.
But I'm also going to say this.
See.
I'm also going to say this.
Yeah.
There are goalies that have the best stats that you have to say, okay, they're the best goalie in the National Hockey League because the stats are there, right? We saw it with Linus Ullmark. We saw it once upon a time, Columbus. Remember, they had, under Ken Hitchcock, they had amazing stats. Pascal Leclerc did, and Bobrovsky. And I say that, like, do I think Aiden Hill is the best goalie in the National Hockey League? I mean, there's a couple of guys that I really like. I like Shesterkin a lot. I like Vasilevsky a lot.
He's got the best stats right now. That's what I'm saying.
You're right. but he won the cup a year ago. His stats are amazing, but I also believe that team is really well built and really well insulated, right? They're just a tough team to play against. Their top 4 on defense are big boys, and it's hard to penetrate.
Yeah, but does that make Martin Brodeur not as good because he had a really great D and a great team? You know, like you're part of the team.
He's one of the best ever, but his stats were really, really good because he played on that team with that big 3 and that coach. If he's not playing on that team with that big 3 and that coach, he's still going to be an amazing goalie, but his stats aren't going to be as amazing as they were. Right?
Yeah, but that's a team game. You know, like
you're right. Listen,
it's a team game. So it's part of your career, or you play with like would Sidney Crosby have the same stats if he didn't have Malkin and Letang right away with him?
No,
probably not.
No,
you know,
of course not. Of course not. There's some situations that are.
It's funny. It's funny. McKinnon didn't really do 100 points in his career per season, but with Makar seems pretty easy right now.
Carey Price never won the Stanley Cup, but if he would have played for Pittsburgh instead of Marc-Andre Fleury, or he would have played for Tampa Bay instead of Vasilevsky, he would have won the Cup.
Exactly.
Right?
You need a team. Whatever position you are on a hockey team, you need a team. You need wingers. You need a D partner, and you need a goalie. That's the reality.
What are you doing Saturday night?
I'm working TVS ball. You?
What
you want to
come play? I was going to ask you to come play poker with us. It's Sammy's first annual poker tournament.
Oh.
And all proceeds are donated to cure spinal muscular atrophy. It's going to be at Playground at 6 o'clock. It's $150 entry.
Yeah.
And drinks are included. What's not included, of course, are the buy-ins or the add-ons or the food. But it's going to be a great night of poker for a great cause. And Sammy's going to be there, and Agnello's going to be there. I'm going to be there. And I would have loved to have you there. But I'll be spending money, and you'll be making money. That's the way.
One day we'll go for sure. And I hope it's a great event. Turning Sammy, I think that's going to be a fun night. And people just go take Tony's money. That's hey.
You know, I'm going to tell you something.
You know what? There was people complaining on the chat at the beginning of the show, and you got mad.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to go get Tony's money, people. It's time to get his money.
And I'm not a very good poker player, so you could take my money. I'm going to tell you something, okay? Prior to COVID, Agnello and his wife Rosa would organize on Valentine's weekend Sammy's Valentine's Gala. They started about 20 years ago to try and raise money for spinal muscular atrophy, which obviously is the disease that Sammy was diagnosed with at the young age of 9 months old. And, their first event they ever had probably had give or take 50 people. And then prior to COVID, it went up to about 700 or 750 people. Because of COVID in the last couple of years, they stopped having the gala. And this year they decided to do his first ever annual poker tournament.
That's beautiful.
Agnello and his wife, through their fundraising efforts, galas and golf tournaments, have raised over $2 million.
Wonderful.
For spinal muscular atrophy. So I think, I wanted people to know that Agnello is, I like to tease him here, but what he's done for spinal muscular atrophy and all those kids that have been hit with that terrible disease, he's like a god for them, because what him and his wife have done, raising over $2 million, it takes special people to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And he's a special person. So listen, you're working this Saturday. I'm going to tell Agnello going forward, the next party cannot be on a Saturday because I want you to be there.
Perfect. I'll be there. And before I leave, I know we've been talking about hockey and everything, but what you just said is very important. I think we live in a society right now where it's too easy to be aggressive and negative. I think we need to come back a little bit to helping each other. We need to be a team, not just on the ice, but in Quebec.
You're right.
Everywhere.
You're right.
Right.
Even the podcast should help each other. And even the podcast that got sold for millions, if they end up wanting to give, a couple of $1 million to another podcaster who works hard.
I was talking on the human side. Let's not forget where we're from.
No, I'm happy you said that, because something happened in the last 24 hours in the hockey world. I don't know if you saw it. It's absolutely terrible. There's a podcast out of Columbus where someone called in and he basically mocked Patrick Laine. Did you see that?
I heard about it. I didn't see it. No.
He mocked Patrick Laine and actually made a joke about suicide.
Yeah.
And Patrick Laine took exception to it, obviously, on social media and said, guys, are you kidding me? Guys, are you serious? And now there's a fundraising effort. The Columbus Blue Jackets, I think, are behind the fundraising effort to try and raise money for awareness and suicide prevention and all that stuff. But look, it's not because you host a podcast that you can obviously say stupid stuff like that. But I don't know if it was someone hosting it or if it was a fan that was calling in. But even if it was a fan, the others in studio were actually laughing. It's, we got to be more sensitive to what's going on. You're right, Max. We got to help each other more. We got to love each other more. We got to care about each other more, and we just have to be a lot more caring overall.
Exactly.
I appreciate it, eh? You were fantastic tonight.
Guys.
I kept you overtime.
That's okay.
But 20 minutes. Thank you so much. I think the show was rocking and rolling tonight, as the numbers show. Merci beaucoup, Max.
Have a good one. Thanks for having me. Good night,
He
guys.
is Max Lapierre of La Poche Bleue, and you can watch his podcast tomorrow night with Guillaume Latendresse. Their special guest will be Vincent Desharnais of the Edmonton Oilers. And then it goes at 8 p.m. and at 9 p.m., they have a special hockey segment called La Taverne, which you can watch as well. And then you know what? Once that's over, you can watch us here right now. The Sick Podcast will be back tomorrow night, same time, same place at 10 p.m. My guest tomorrow night, Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst and hockey scout, of course, director of scouting for TSN. Want to thank Playground. Want to thank Accent Insurance Solutions. I want to thank Energy Transportation Group. And I want to thank La Bita TB. Once again, Sammy's first annual poker gala will go this Saturday at Playground at 6 p.m. with all proceeds going to Cure SMA. Get your tickets by calling 514-219-2725, 514-219-2725. And Yellow will be there. Sammy will be there. I will be there. I can't wait to talk Montreal Canadiens hockey and sports with you. Say hi to all of you. Thank you for watching. You are my Sick Army. You are my Sick community. And I love doing this, and thank you for being there. Once again, tomorrow night, same time, same place. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.